Hi, I'm Adrian Zaharia from Dream Primer, and I'm a game developer. And I'm totally unprepared for this. I didn't even repeat the presentation. It's my first time speaking on this stage or any other stage. And I'm here to talk about Eternium, our game. And the title must be a bit misleading because it's titled Growing Your Game to 15 million. The truth is that we don't have a strategy that that can be followed to reach that. It's a catchy title though. So what I can tell you is the story, what we did, how we developed the game. And I'm not even going to mark our decisions as good or bad. You can decide which one were good or bad and maybe tell me in the end. So these are some screenshots from our game. I told you I'm unprepared. Eternium is an action RPG game optimized for mobile devices. Our goal was to take the fast-paced combat gameplay from classic games from PC and bring them to mobiles, and while trying to keep the same experience. The game can also be played on PC, and it's really nice to be able to play the game on your PC. Then, while you're traveling, continue playing on your phone or other mobile device. We've adopted the gameplay first design principle. So we focused on having a smooth uh, combat mechanics, gameplay experience. Every action should be as satisfying as possible and without any clunkiness. Whenever you press a button or perform an action, your hero would perform that action. To obtain that experience on mobiles, we choose to adopt an innovative control scheme optimized for mobile devices. Usually, these kind of games are played by using virtual thumbsticks. And we tried that. We didn't really like the idea. Actually, virtual thumbstick doesn't really feel like a real thumbstick. You don't have that tactile feedback you have from a real thumbstick. So what we did, we use this kind of interface where you tap to move, your hero moves to that area, you tap to attack, you start attacking monsters. And then, what's innovative, you draw a simple gesture to use abilities, and use those abilities at the area where you draw that sign. Also, in this game, you battle hordes of monsters in huge handcrafted levels. I'll have some screenshots later with that. Also, one of our principles was that the game should be truly free to play. As such, there is not barrier limiting your gameplay. You can play as much as you want. We have no energy system, we have no paywalls. Also, the best equipment in game can be only obtained by actually playing the game. You cannot buy it. Actually, it's funny. We get customer support tickets from players that cannot find where to buy gems from, gems being our online currency. Basically, we forgot to add that plus button near the gems field. Well, probably that's a mistake. We'll test that in the next build. Also, the game was developed by a really small indie team. Uh, three, three people, two programmers and one artist. The artist did the whole graphics in the game. Okay. I'm going to talk, in this talk, I'm going to talk about a bit about the development phases, how we got into beta, how we did the prototype, what we did during the beta, what happened after we launched the game, and what happened later. I'd like to mention that the game is still under development, so we're developing it for a long time, and we still have a lot of features to be developed, major features. We're also keeping the game fresh by introducing new content, polishing existing content, balancing the game, and our users are really hungry about that kind of updates. So, Inception, being the phase, the development phase before going into open beta. But before that, I'd like to talk what we are doing before. basically, it sounds like a crazy idea to start developing an action RPG with a team of 3, because an action RPG has quite complex features. Uh, its scope is quite large. So we're not crazy. Before of that, we're not crazy yet. Before of that, we're developing a turn-based strategy game. It was a hybrid between Magic the Gathering and tactical combat, similar to Heroes, let's say. And we got that game into an alpha stage. We're preparing for beta, but it had one major problem. It was a bit too hardcore. The game sessions were about 15-30 minutes long. And it was a bit more like chess. So we've decided to shorten the gameplay sessions, and we've got to the point that we transformed it into an action RPG, shortening the turn to 25 turns per second. So we got there. Obviously, we couldn't reuse much of the code, but we were able to reuse a lot of the content, creatures, and some abilities, actually, visual effects and whatnot. Going back. So basically, we had about 8 months to go live. We're unlimited, but we wanted to get the game live and get live feedback as soon as possible. So we had the insanely short development cycles. I think we had a game playable, the first prototype, in about a week or 2. It helped that we had that turn-based before, obviously. During the development, this phase, we put a lot of accent on basic combat mechanics. We tweaked how the hero is moving, interrupting any combat animations if the hero decided to do something else. It was quite rewarding to see users, first-time users playing the game, especially users that were used to play Dota or League of Legends, and they were actually playing the game the same as they played MOBA, dodging arrows, interrupting their attacks, and so on. It was quite satisfying. Also, we adopted a no freeze the whole tutorial. We wanted the game to be as easy to grasp, by giving only minor hints to our players. As such, we introduced new features later into the game. So you start by moving your hero, attacking using only a basic attack, then you gain a new ability, then you gain some items, and that experience was prolonged for some hours, actually. We didn't like those tutorials where you have to play on the rail for 15 minutes. I read somewhere about the principle to use caveman-like statements when you give instructions to the users. For us, it was quite easy because after programming 12 hours, this is how you sound when you try to talk. So that was easy, and it worked fine. What we did, and I think it's a major key for our success, was that we continuously tested the game with live users. So basically, we were going around in pubs and whatnot and asking new users to play the game a bit, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And we're sitting there taking notes about what they're doing. We're interested in what they didn't understand. And the best feedback we got was from users saying that I'm not playing games. And we think that if you optimize the game for those kind of players, your core audience will get your game much easier. We use that. Actually, during our continuous testing, okay, this is a story. So we're testing a game with one of our friends, and before that we had an interface where you had some buttons on the screen, you tap on a button, then you tap on the screen to play that ability. And she kind of, actually, going back a bit, we had an ability called Vortex, and that ability was pulling the monsters in an area, spiraling towards the central point. And that user simply ignored our quite clunky interface, and instead of using the buttons as we intended them to do, she drew a spiral on the screen. That was a big aha moment for us. So we had that in game in about 1 week, and we stuck with that kind of interface. Yeah, it's important to stick to the MVP plan. Actually, we took a lot of shortcuts to get there. We launched in the beta with only one hero class, a mage. We're planning to introduce more classes, but the core mechanics were there only with one hero class. We had only one act, or two acts, I don't quite remember. And the levels were actually designed by us, programmers, by our artist, whenever he had the time to also design levels. They weren't looking that great. And also the projectiles were going through walls. And that remained actually to the worldwide release. It was, we consider it an improvement to gameplay because players wouldn't get their projectiles blocked by walls and whatnot. But later it became a problem because it was exploitable. Now, in this development phase, the most important resources I think are passion for motivation and focus. You have to really focus on what you're doing and not stray around. And also, as I mentioned before, again, feedback from live user testing. And of course, a supportive publisher that gave us creative control, finance the development, and so on, and bared with us to launch the game. Okay. After we released the game in beta, it was great to have actual feedback from live users. It was really exciting to have KPIs, to see retention numbers, to see monetization numbers. In the beginning, they were not great, but they were good. They were quite good, and we could continue developing the game. That was the moment when we started building our community. Basically, we incentivized users to visit our forums. What we did, we added a free item in the game, an awesome item. You could obtain for free if you introduce a code. And to get that code, you had to visit the forum and read around a bit. So people visited the forum and they stuck around because they were starting writing guides, discussing strategies, and so on. And I also think that helped us in the long run. This phase was exciting, but a bit more boring. We had to create support for the operational phase. We had to save profiles on the server. At one time, I deleted all the players' profiles. We did some release notes apologizing for it. That happened. And improved our analytics. It's good to have analytics, but it's important to have fewer analytics rather than more. Actionable analytics. Yeah, this is the post-release timeline. This is the graph with installs. Do I have a laser here? So, once we launched worldwide, we've got a 1-week promotion from Google. I think that helped us to get the engine rolling. Here's a promotion from Google. It had an after shock of install rates, and then we've got into this stable regime of installing organic installs. Actually, in this period, the revenue was able to cover the development cost. And I think that's a really good situation to be in. You can afford then to improve the game, polish your game, create new features, and get the game to be successful in the end. Now, probably because we improved the game, we've got another promotion, and we've got into another level of growth. And here the game became profitable. So everybody was happy here. But with success, with more users, the maintenance has become harder. I'll discuss about that in the operational phase. About here, we started optimizing for the store listing. We did some optimization before, but not much. And then it was like those optimization had an effect of positive feedback. And we've got into this new level of growth. And this here is an anomaly. We had a week of installs from India, I think, about 60,000 a day or something. And there we are now. Okay. Now, getting to the subject of the title of our talk. How do you grow? There is the mythical money printing machine where you can have enough revenue per install that you can afford to buy more users by advertising, buy them on Facebook, buy them on AdWords, and so on, or other networks, and gain some profit from that. It didn't quite work for us. We make barely enough to buy new users, and so we don't do that because that wouldn't be profitable. Another way to grow a game is to obtain promotions from stores. We did obtain some promotions from Google and I think two from iOS. From iOS it was strange, it lasted for 1 week, but we didn't have an aftermath. So the game fell back to the install rate from before the promotion. It was nice, but it didn't have a long-term impact. Another way to obtain growth, I've heard about it, we didn't use it. I don't know if it works actually. If somebody knows how to do that, please tell me. Is to generate hype in media, press, and on it. What I've noticed that if an article appears about your game, that article usually disappears after 1 day or less. So that didn't work for us. What worked for us, we think worked for us, was keeping improving the game, improving the KPIs, and in such way increasing the organic growth. We'll talk about how can that happen on the next slide. Our assumption about a store is that they try to optimize their revenue per game displayed. Basically, a store, even if it's virtual, has shelves. So they would like to put in the most visible shelves, the games that bring them the most money or value. Not necessarily money. Maybe the value is that your game is really cool and they want it promoted for their mobile phone. There are 3 important conversion rates that can affect your revenue per display. Store listing optimizations. The percentage of users getting to see your game in a list on the store and actually visiting the game page. That's the first step. You have to optimize that. The listing, the page, your game page to install. You have to convince people to install your game. You have to optimize your screenshots in that section, optimize your text, optimize your trailer, and whatever else it's displayed on the store listing. And obviously install to revenue. You have to extract some money per install. We used Google Play Store listing experiments. Those are awesome. You are able to A/B test pretty much everything from your store listing. You can optimize your icon, game description, game title, I think, even screenshots, and pretty much everything. We use that continuously, and we think it's important to use it. Also, Google Play Store search is important. I think it worked quite well for us. We have about 20% of our installs are coming from Google Play search. Our game is quite well rated when you search for certain keywords. And we get a lot of installs that way. I don't know how exactly you do that. Maybe you need to have good reviews. Maybe you need some content on your forum or reviews. Since we don't have a stellar customer lifetime value, it's clear that the store also takes other KPIs into account. Because we are still listed in sections in top lists, best free-to-play game or whatever. This is how the search works for us. This is for United States, and there are the keywords in blue. So pretty much we're on the top 3 for this kind of keywords. Best RPG, free RPG, role-playing game, and so on. And here is a list of keywords and our ranking for search extracted from App Annie. Now, the operational phase. In this phase, we are trying to keep our users happy and expand our user base. We entertain our audience by announcing coming soon features that are delayed because there's always something more, something to fix from the live operations. We had to grow a thick height. Not everybody will love your game. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't listen to your users. It means that you shouldn't take it personal. People will criticize your game. You have to acknowledge that. You have to acknowledge that you cannot make everybody happy. In this phase, the most problematic issue for us was maintaining our focus, because at the same time we want to develop new features and maintaining the game. You have to release many updates, one update per month, let's say, and at the same time having something in those updates. You have to be prepared with a production pipeline that's able to deliver new content, new quality content in an easy manner. It should be able to deliver content without having programmers involved, only artists, game designers. We don't have that, and our users are consuming any new content faster than we can say coming soon. So we are optimizing in that direction. Also, we didn't expand our team soon enough. We are doing it right now, but we kept the team quite small for a long time, and probably that's a mistake because we had the revenue to do so. Also, it's really good to have an A/B test system to test your new features, balancing changes, economy. And if you have it, use it, because we do have it and we didn't use it enough. And we'd like to go back in time and choose a better game engine, because that's one of our operational issues. We are developed on Marmalade SDK. I don't know if anyone knows it. Yeah, you know it, of course. And that SDK is not maintained anymore. So we kind of have to maintain it. It's a cross-platform SDK. It allowed us to be present on many platforms, but it has to be kept up to date. So sometime we'll need to switch to Unreal Engine. I don't know if that was a bad decision, because at the time when we started development, Unreal Engine wasn't yet present on mobiles, but the situation got better right now. What else was there? Yeah, talk about a bit about the game evolution over time. So this one here is the turn-based game in its alpha stage. It was called Mage and Minions, and actually the action RPG was called Mage and Minions when we released it, and we changed the name after 1 or 2 years. Here is the first graphics facelift. We did that several months after our release. So you can see on the left side how the game looked at the release, and there's a new look after the release. We actually we didn't use props for the walls. We created the walls using the height map and texturing with the bricks texture. And on the right side, you can see it with new graphics. This is our levels, our latest levels, and I hope this slide gives you a sense of scale. The levels are quite huge. This is a small town here, and you can navigate through it, battle monsters, find treasure. And this is what we are planning to introduce soon in our game, a new graphics revamp for our heroes and creatures. Well, I think that was about it. So, thank you, and I'm waiting for questions.